Everyone, welcome to Lettermen Live, presented by Roosters. We have some great food. We got a full crowd here at lunchtime down here on Olentangy River Road. Man, I had some of this food this weekend watching the NFL games.
There's nothing better, right? You can't beat it. No way,
you can't
no
beat
how.
Roosters in football, man.
That's right.
But to start us off, huge news just broke by Lettermen Row. Kerry Coombs, new co-defense coordinator, secondary coach for the Buckeyes. That's a huge get, right?
Absolutely. I mean, to have Coach Combs, who's already was a strong part of the program before he obviously took the leap with Coach Vrabel, to come back and to now solidify our secondary coach, our situation. That's huge in recruiting for all the young guys who have been waiting in the wings, looking for the opportunity to see who they're going to have a chance to play for. And he's a great recruiter. He's bringing back the juice, the energy, so already know that now with those 2 years of experience in the NFL, I think it makes a lot of sense. When he comes back, he's more seasoned. He's had a different aspect, a different point of view. And he comes back rejuvenated, to teach these young college kids.
Well, I was going to ask you, with your brother getting recruited, right? And, this is a guy who's got Bradley Roby, Eli Apple, Marshawn Lattimore, Garyon Conley. He's got all those guys under his belt at Ohio State that now were first-round draft picks. How's that changed from a recruit's perspective? Because, listen, I wasn't a DB, but when you have a coach, when you have Coach Fickle coming in from my perspective, he's got, Hawk, Bobby, he's got all those guys under his belt. Hey, it's big, right? So how's that changed from a recruit standpoint?
I think it just opens your eyes to really see, the development in him, so then he can connect. And what's really great about Kerry is he loves to connect to the players, and he builds that rapport. So I think, Coach Hafley came in, NFL experience as well, was able to connect to guys like Damon Arnett and really lift his game back up, because we all thought that, hey, he was a 4 or 5 star recruit. He didn't live up to his potential, but now all of a sudden his senior year he comes out and has an excellent year in the secondary, and it takes like I said, the anxiety away as a recruit.
On that same note, Mike, having a coach who, he's a great recruiter. Everybody knew about him before he went to the NFL. Right. Now, on the same side, as recruiting goes, as a high school kid, does it carry more stock? Hey, this guy was in the NFL, and he was successful. And, we've been waiting for a couple of weeks because they've been going through that playoff run. Yep. Everybody thought Kerry was going to be the guy. We weren't sure. Does that play into, going through recruiting as a secondary guy? You knew that he put guys in the league, but being in the league and seeing what it's like, do you think a recruiter's going to say, you know what, he's going to be able to help me even more get to that point? Or is it just kind of like, no big deal, he just was in the NFL?
No, it definitely is a stamp of approval, because he coached at the highest level.
Right.
So,
and he left on his own terms.
Exactly. So he coached at the highest level. He wasn't fired. He wanted to come back to Ohio, where he's from. His roots are here. And it allows him to have that voice of confidence and reasoning to any kid who's thinking about coming to Ohio State, that he can go and say, hey, I have a relationship with this GM. I've coached with Coach Vrabel.
I've seen this, I've seen
years.
that,
I know the whole draft process. I know how you're evaluated. I know when it comes to the combine, what you're really looking at.
Yeah, the combine, all that stuff, that's big. Because when he came from, high school to Ohio State, you're like, well, he's a Cincinnati guy. People love him down there. Can he recruit? And now it's like, all right, well, he did well, and then he went to the NFL. Well, I think it's going to be even crazier.
I played for Coach Combs. Love him to death. The only thing that I question, right, is that we all know what those coaches go through from an NFL perspective, right? It's completely different than college.
Yes.
My thing is he left, has been gone for 2 years. How long does it take him to adjust to get back to the college way, right? Where in the offseason, you're recruiting, right? You're not sitting in a room going over draft boards, going to the combine, going to pro days. You're on the road at all times, right? You have spring ball, right? It's just a completely different dynamic. And so from my perspective, it's how fast can he adjust from the NFL life the last 2 years to now jumping in under a new head coach, right? It's going to be new things that Ryan Day has implemented, different from what Urban had. So no doubt. So what, especially now he's a defense coordinator, right? He's not just a secondary.
I said that a few weeks ago talking about him, like, would he want to come back?
Yeah.
Right.
You got the NFL lifestyle. Do I want to go recruit these kids again? Do I want to go be on the road? Now he's a coach. That's what he loves, and he loves to be around these college-age kids, and so he wanted to come back. I think that's huge to say, hey, listen, I want to be on the road. I want to be recruiting. I want this extra stuff not just sitting in draft board, meetings and
and
things like that. So I think it's huge.
And I would say with his personality, knowing him over the last several years, I think he likes to be engaged with the true development of the athlete. So at the time he recruits a kid that comes in at 18 years old, by the time they leave, they're 22 years old, if they don't leave early or whatnot. But he likes that development to really have
He's a long-time high school coach, so he likes seeing those younger guys.
I agree with that. I think when you get off to the NFL, it's a lot more maintaining, right? You're going over business, right? I feel like I agree. I think he likes the idea of helping develop kids, knowing that if I get them in college, I can make a bigger difference from their freshman to senior year, right? I can make a bigger impact on them compared to when guys get to the NFL, right? You're at the top of your game. There isn't much, taking them from here to here, right? It's a lot more just giving them tips.
Well, and you have different personalities, different attitudes. Hey, I got money. I'm not listening to you. He's back here with these kids saying, I'm going to help you grow to be a better man, down the road so you don't have to go through some of the bad stuff maybe once you get to the league. But that's a huge get for the Buckeyes, and, they finally fill that position. It's going to be known and done, and any recruits, minds at ease, knowing that it's going to be
it's
done.
A massive get, and I agree with you. I think it from a recruiting standpoint too. I think Jeff Hafley was great, but from knowing what Kerry Coombs has done at Ohio State, for him to come back is just astronomical for what it can do from an upside from recruiting the secondary moving forward.
And the biggest thing is, you wanted a proven guy. Right, in the sense, Coach Hafley came from the 49ers. He has the NFL experience, but Buckeye Nation really didn't have any idea who this guy was. So to bring back Coach Kerry Coombs into this role, well, we know he's a proven guy. He has had a great tenure here, and then he goes up to the next level. Has a great run, just ended up yesterday, losing in the AFC Championship game.
Well, here's a question for you guys. I don't know. Was he here with Ryan?
Did
they overlap a year when Ryan first came here? Because that's a thing where it's like a head coach.
That's the staff stuff.
He knew about him, but he was here for a year. Okay, so that probably helped him.
He
they
was
already
here
had
for
that
1
relationship.
year. Yeah, was here for 1 year.
Yeah, because that could be different. You got a young guy who's a coach for the first time, bringing you back. Just seeing what that dynamic would be like.
He was here for 1 year for sure.
So, good.
So speaking of recruiting, coaching, things like that. Nick Bosa, Larry Johnson, right? I know everyone talks about it. We've talked about it multiple times, what Larry Johnson brings to Ohio State, what he brings to developing these guys from when they get here to when they leave. I don't know if any coach in college can say that they've put out guys like Larry Johnson has. I mean, with the Bosa brothers. With the Bosa brothers, with Chase Young coming out. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Sam Hubbard was a
great one. He may be the best defensive lineman for the Bengals right now. So, let's touch on that, and especially Nick Bosa, the way he played last night, having a big sack, Aaron Rodgers. And then I don't know if you guys saw this, but he's on the sideline showing some of the older guys technique stuff during the game that's coming from Larry Johnson. So, as a recruit, as a high school guy, if I'm watching that game, and obviously any football fan's watching that game, right? You're seeing Nick Bosa go over things with guys who have been in the league for a long periods of time, teaching them things that Larry Johnson taught them. So, to talk a little bit about what Larry Johnson brings that to a recruiting aspect that you're seeing Nick Bosa bring to a field on Sundays.
Well, the thing for me is to see that, the hands-on and truly grabbing everyone's attention. They're like, okay, this is this young guy. He's a rookie. Obviously we knew who his brother was the year before. San Diego made an impact. But now he comes in. They're making a run here in the playoffs to the Super Bowl, and he's in the game. Like, listen, guys, if you do this move on this guy, or you see that drop step on that left tackle, hey, come with this little hook and slap, and next thing you know, you're going to have a chance to make a play. And it just takes the true development and the passion that Coach Johnson has to teach his guys. It shows that he, even from what I understand, he watches all his NFL guys' tapes on Wednesday when he has some free time. Just if they give him a call, hey, coach, what you see on tape? You got guys still contacting
he's texting him throughout the week. Hey, maybe do something like this. Remember this. Remember when we did this. That's the stuff.
Back to foundation, back to your fundamentals, and to see Bosa, obviously have a great, rookie year. He's probably gonna be defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah,
he
should be.
Should win that war.
Should
win that war hands down. Having that impact, his team's in the Super Bowl, and as we saw from the AFC Championship game with the Titans, they could not get any pressure on the quarterback.
Mahomes
it's
going to be different.
Was truly elusive, and you could see that they were trying to search, looking for some blitzes, change some things up. But Braves, they did not have a guy who would get home.
Oh, there was too much time. He was sitting back there multiple times, 8 to 10 seconds, just trying to find something.
Roaming around, stringing it out, as we see here on ESPN, where he scores the touchdown. I'm there just kind of, scrambling. And I think where a Coach Johnson's true perspective comes in is in crunch time moments where these guys elevate their level of play. It's different, you go against the Akrons, against the Miami Ohio's, the Bowling Greens, and you have a 2-3 sack game. Yeah. But if you're getting that done against Penn State, you're getting that done
the
against
big
that
dogs
team
of your
the
league.
North, you're getting that done in the college football playoffs, that carries over to Sundays.
Yeah. So here's something for us to discuss real quick. There's so many people at Lettermen Row that are watching this and saying, hey, the Bosa brothers were 5 stars. Chase Young was a 5-star, right? You got all these guys, they're 5-star players. How much is a coach really how much say is he really having on his kid? How much growth is a coach really contributing to this guy when he's at college? Right? They're like, hey, these guys are really talented.
Yeah, they were talented. Everybody wanted them.
Exactly. It's kind of like
Ohio State.
It's kind of like the great horse, right? Just get them in the race, right? Get them in the starting
Don't mess
gates.
them up. Right.
Exactly.
Don't
let them go,
up.
right? So, let's discuss how much control.
Or how much is it Larry Johnson?
Yeah, how much of this isn't Larry Johnson rather than just the Bosa brothers and Chase Young being who they are?
Yeah, I think when Larry got the job, it was all you heard was how awesome he was.
Oh, absolutely. Take it back to Penn State days.
Back to Penn, like, man,
Courtney
this is
Brown,
a huge get, and then you look at the guys he had at Penn State, you're like, well, is it the same type of thing?
Right.
Those guys were kind of freaks. LeVar Arrington was a freak. He had some players there too, but to see what he's able to be, I think Hubbard is probably a good. He was a lacrosse guy.
Yep.
Coming out of high school. I think the weight room, Mick, getting him big, and then add that to Larry being able to show him and kind of get working with him, getting him to that level where he's a draft pick. That kind of shows you how good this coach is, and you hear him talk about him. The Bosas, they could be off. They're out in Cali. Yeah. They could be off in their own world. They could care less about Larry Johnson, but they don't. They want to stay in touch. They want to still talk to him. That shows you, to carry that on to the league, I think, is huge, showing like, hey, we left Ohio State. He got us to where we are, helped us to get to where we are, but we still want to lean on him and ask him for help and things like that.
And let's be honest, we all know guys who go off to the NFL are making millions of dollars, right? And whether it be past,
can't tell them anything.
Hey, listen, you can't tell them anything. Yeah. They love Ohio State. They appreciate what Ohio State did for him, but they're not calling back to
they're
say
not
what's
calling their
going.
coach.
No,
and saying,
they're not.
Hey,
They're not even coming back all the time whenever they can and being around the program. They just, hey, thank you, and they're moving on, making their money, right? So I think it goes to show what kind of
relationships he builds and all that sort of thing. Right?
Yeah, the camaraderie that he has in that room, and those guys just truly, believing in him and what how he's helped develop them, and that's what you see. You see the talent is there, and he was able to pull that out.
Pull it out. Yeah,
he pushed them to a level, where they go, oh my God, now I'm still here at this level, and it's something that Coach Jay can tell me, or a key word or key phrase that hits that moment, that aha. They're like, you know what, Coach, you're right.
Yep.
And then
another thing is having all those great players in one room.
Yeah.
You got to think. You got Nick or you got Joey, and Nick's a couple years younger.
Right.
Keeping everybody happy, keeping them all focused on what. Chase Young was supposed to be the guy he was this year, his freshman year, but it takes some time, but he keeps people happy. He keeps them focused on what they're supposed to be doing, what we're trying to do, to get you better. And, you never really had they seem to be great guys, hard workers who just want to listen to their coach and go out and dominate.
And I think this is why, the Bosa brothers, Chase Young, Sam Hubbard, I think this is why they respect Coach Johnson so much. It's because he rotates so many guys throughout a game, right? He's constantly in that room. He knows how to keep everyone happy. Exactly. He knows how to get everyone to work together. He knows how to make that defensive line room a family, right? Those guys really go in there and they care about one another. They want to get each other better.
It's not him with Chase over here and everybody else looking like, oh, Coach, can you come help us?
Right. He puts responsibility on those guys to get everyone else better, and he is there to support them, right? So I think the structure that he sets up builds them up for success on the field at Ohio State, and then off the field, and at the next level.
Forward, no doubt about it.
No doubt.
So that defensive staff's strong, really strong. It helps to recruit the way they've been recruiting. That does help, but it's once you get them here, you got to get them on the same page. You got to get them in the program, and Nobody's doing it better right now. It's crazy.
And you add in Mickey Marardi into that combination.
Oh yeah,
he's so good at what he does.
You see that true development. So he has the player has to have a great relationship with the strength coach, your position coach, and obviously the team.
Yep.
And to have that combination, throughout that process, these guys are phenomenal and making that happen here in Columbus.
Yep.
I mean, it's been since Coach Urban came in with this group. You see that true formation that every year they're just continuing to stack and stack and stack and stack and raise that level of play up at their prospective positions.
Right. Well, this is Lettermen Live, presented by Roosters out here on Olentangy River Road. Everyone come out, lunch, dinner, bring the family, bring the boys, bring the girls, whatever it may be, right?
Friend, fam.
No doubt. Before we wrap up, everyone obviously saw the run that the Titans had this year, right?
Yes.
In the playoffs and what Coach Vrabel was able to do with that team and taking the AFC Championship game. And let's be honest, the Kansas City Chiefs are uber talented, man. They are insanely talented.
I think two best teams are going to be in the Super Bowl.
I completely agree with you.
Yes.
But speaking on that, we saw Coach Vrabel here at Ohio State. We saw him make the next step to the NFL. There's always some kind of changeover, right? When you come to Ohio State as a coach, as a fan, I know people get disgruntled about coaches leaving, especially like Coach Hafley going to Boston College. It's going to happen. When you come to Ohio State, you are the best of the best. People want you, right? So I kind of want to talk to you guys and pick your brains because I know a lot of people are thinking, what goes into these guys' decisions going on the next level? What makes them a great coach, whether it be Coach Vrabel at Tennessee or Coach Hafley going to BC, right? Who do you think the next one in line is, and what makes colleges or NFL teams reach out to these guys and make them future coaches?
Well, it starts with our premier program. I mean, The Ohio State is one of the top 3 programs in the country. Obviously, you can add LSU up to that mix now with them being a national champion. Clemson has been there and Alabama has been there. And we probably – I think
Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama are probably those 3.
Exactly.
Year in and year out. LSU next year is going to be dog doo-doo. They've lost so many people.
But I think you've got a very elite tier, right? With those 3, and then I think you've got another very high tier where maybe that LSU, Georgia,
the big time SEC, the Penn States, the Michigan,
right?
Texas.
But this is what everyone's going to ask, right? You look at Alabama and Clemson in Ohio State, right? Those are the top 3. Why don't Clemson and Alabama have the turnover that Ohio State does, right? Why are those guys staying when Ohio State's got all these coaches every single year that are either moving on to the NFL or moving on to head coaching jobs? What is it?
I'll answer that for you real easy. The money.
Yeah.
They started paying defense coordinators and big-time position coaches a lot. I mean, back when we were playing, assistant coaches maybe making a couple hundred, If you're a coordinator, maybe 4.
Right.
I mean, Clemson, I bet – offensive defensive coordinator probably making 1.1 to 900. So that helps you stay somewhere longer. Right. It used to be, hey, I'm going to go get this head coaching job to get the big payday, more money. Yep. But now, hey, I'm happy. I'm making a ton of money. We're winning a ton. I mean, Clemson's had their coordinator since 2014.
Venables,
they don't leave.
Heard his name 45 times.
Well, Herbie loves him. Herbie loves him. But I think that has a huge thing to do with it. Now. It all comes down to the coach. Do you want to be a head coach? Right. Are you going to be okay? Being in. Are you from Columbus or did Brian Hartline? Did you go to Ohio State? Did you love Columbus? Do you want to be here?
Right.
Maybe he doesn't look to go somewhere else because he's happy. He's making good money. He made good money in the league, but I think that has a lot to do with it.
And I think I'll combat it a little bit with Alabama because Nick's has some turnover. So a lot of his assistant coaches are now head coaches in the SEC. So I think it comes down to the head coach, how he runs the organization from that perspective, right? You go to coach for Nick Saban to kind of get that tenure of experience, and you go, okay, I got 2-3 years under this guy. What's my next step for me? I want to be a head coach. So you try to coach under the best. You coach under Urban Meyer, and then you take your chances to say, what, I want it on my own. I want it on my own merit. I want to go out here and live up to the hype and see, can I really bring my level of coaching up to that level? So those guys, running their organizations like CEOs, where Nick Saban and Urban, ran the organization like, look, I'm challenging you. You have to get better because if I leave or you want that next job, then I got to make sure that you're prepared for those moments. Right. So those kind of universities and those kind of coaches get chosen to come to like Ohio State because they know this is a stepping stone to potentially get to where their true aspirations are. We just saw, Coach Tony Alford, interview for the Colorado State job. He didn't get it, but he's
interviewed for it. Because being at Ohio State kind of put him on that level.
Right.
I think one thing that Nick does down in Alabama really well is throughout each year, it almost feels like a head coach gets fired.
Yep.
Nick brings him in. So I think he continually does that, trying to find the right fit and pick everybody's brain. And he knows he's going to lose some coaches, so he does that on a yearly basis just to get people in the building, pick them, see if he feels good with them, and if he needs to hire them, then he can. Because it's tough. I mean, Urban at Florida, he lost a lot of his coaches, and Florida started going. Because you're losing great coaches. It's hard to replace those guys and have that same level. So
I think this is the other thing that people need to realize, that Ohio State fans need to realize. It's a good thing for Ohio State, right? Is that, number one, I think Venables is a wild card, right? Mm-hmm. He's been there. Granted, he's got a son on the team, right?
It doesn't always happen that way.
It doesn't always
he's
happen that way. But, yes, I think he's staying there just because he's that kind of guy that maybe doesn't want to leave Dabo, is happy with where he's at, right? But I think the success that Ohio State coaches have had moving on, becoming head coaches, right, and especially under Urban, and now possibly Coach Day, right, as guys move on, I think that attracts teams. And not in a bad way, but I don't think Nick Saban's assistant coaches have had the best track records moving on to be head coaches, right? Yeah. Whereas you see Urban's guys moving on and having great success. You see what Vrabel's doing at Tennessee, and he came from Coach Meyer, right? Yeah. You've seen what some of these other guys are able to do. So you see these universities or these NFL teams zero in because they're like, hey, these guys have had success. Yeah. They have a program where the assistant coaches know what it's like to run a team, to run an organization,
and
win, and
no doubt, and win.
You're expected to win, and Columbus, Ohio, and the brand that Ohio State has globally.
Yep.
We're not.
They want that to rub off on their programs.
Exactly.
Hey, let's get this guy here. Maybe he'll rub off on what we have, and we can maybe get to that point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And let's be honest. We say Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State are the top three. They are, right? Yeah, it's a top three, right?
Opinion.
But I don't think even with Clemson and Alabama, no one's got a national draw or a national
presence.
Presence is a good word of Ohio State, right? You find Alabama and Clemson so much in the South, right? They cover the South and they're massive, right? Yep. But you don't hear Clemson and Alabama so much up here. Whereas you go to Florida. I was in Florida for the Final Four game. Mm-hmm. It's packed, and there's Buckeye fans everywhere. And guess what? There's people rooting against the Buckeye fans more than any other team there is, right? It's just
the king of the mountain. Everybody wants you to fall.
That perception that Ohio State has nationally, I think, goes a long way with a lot of these universities looking for new coaches.
And what you really find, in our AD Gene Smith and the marketing of our program, I mean, to have the largest alumni, in the world. Yeah. I mean, that push of just constantly pumping Ohio State out there, corporate America. I mean, we got some of the biggest brains and companies here in Central Ohio being successful. You got Nationwide. I mean, you got, limited brands. You got these global companies, so that brand connection with Ohio State makes it really intriguing, but then really to have Gene kind of really push out, the athletic programs, and we just aren't truly successful in football. We also try to compete in other sports.
Exactly. Yeah, we're always up in that President's Cup or whatever it is at the end of the year, but how many national championships?
I think the marketing standpoint's huge. What you said, right? The marketing of Ohio State, there's no one better in the country, right? With the way they market their teams, market the university, everything that Ohio State does. They market with the best of them, right?
And then they win, they back it up. So it makes it easy.
Exactly. You have a two-time Heisman Trophy winner, the only one, as far as football, and then you have all the major awards as we saw. I mean, I got blessed with being on the Walter Camp All-American all-time team. So you have myself and Jack
Big
Tatum.
Man.
I know, right? We're in the presence of greatness here. I know. Yeah.
So you see James Larry-Knight, AJ Hawk, and Chris Spillman get selected. So you see that rich tradition of our program, that national prominence recognition. You got Orlando Pace on the all-time team. So you have all these different, avenues of marketing.
It's good to have those amounts of names on the list like that. Exactly. Kids looking at this
exactly. I mean,
you go to Ohio State, they got all these guys.
But people need to also realize, yes, kids from a recruiting standpoint, but it's also recruiting with coaches, right? It goes back to the conversation we've had. Ohio State recruits the best kids in the country all the time, which they're going to recruit the best coaches. And guess what? When other universities or organizations are recruiting their coach, they're going to go to Ohio State.
Exactly.
That's where they're going to go.
Here. They're stopping here in Columbus to go, okay, who's
we have our pick of the litter, basically.
Yeah. I mean, at the end, at the end of the day, we were all nervous thinking, Ryan Day might get a call from the NFL. Lucky we were in the college football playoffs because the guy, think about it. If you look at his tenure, Justin Fields would be his first quarterback in 7 years that he has
2 years
able to
with
coach 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's wild, man.
So, like, when you look at those statistics, I mean, this guy is on fire to be the next, the next coach from college to go to the NFL. We pray to God that he stays here for a long time.
Well, and everything you've heard from him, I mean, it seems like he wants to be here. He's got young kids, like this could be a place where he lets them grow up, and that just helps because recruits know.
But
this guy could leave, but
let's also bring this up, right? We could have brought this up earlier, but this is a great kind of transition to it, is that who we talked about at the beginning, Kerry Coombs, right? Everyone's asking, why did he leave the NFL to come here? Guess what? If he comes up here and he's a DC and has done what he's done when he first came here, right? It was
if
first
he picks
coach
up
here,
where he left off.
Picks up where he left off. Guess what? He could be in line for that next head coaching job if he really thinks Ryan is going to jump ship at some point and go to the NFL, right?
Exactly. Being here or a premier program, just a mid-tier where it's like, I want to see if I can test the waters and run my own deal. And for him, ultimately, coming back to Columbus, I think, he's married, wife, all Ohio, raised here, coached here in Ohio high school. Then he had a great coaching career here. Then he has some grandkids still close, and I think that
coaching family,
and I think the business of the NFL where he did not have a lot of the control on player selection, right? You go to these combines, you go to you go to free agency, and they say, okay, who do you think? And maybe he one or two guys that he wanted didn't get signed.
Let's be honest. A lot of times the NFL, the head coach doesn't even have final say, right? You've got a GM, you've got an owner who really have got the final say.
Running the business.
The head coach can be pounding the table for a player, and he may not even be able to get him.
Exactly. Right? So to have him, go out and say, hey, I can go sit on this young man's couch, talk to his family, offer this kid a scholarship, and he comes play for me. And I
know who I'm getting, and I know who,
and I can develop him. I can help push him to that next level. And I had that experience now. So there's no coaching tenure that he hasn't had at this point. So except being a head coach in college or a head coach in the NFL. So hats off to him.
Before we wrap this up, let's get some predictions, right? We got Super Bowl in 2 weeks. There are Buckeyes on both sides.
Yeah.
Darren Lee is with the Chiefs, and Mike Weber's on the practice squad of the Chiefs. And then you've obviously got Nick Bosa with the Niners. So we've got Buckeyes on both sides. At least one Buckeye's going to be going to be getting a ring, right?
Yep.
So games happened last night. What are we thinking?
Oh, man. I
think they're both unstoppable.
I think.
That defense for San Francisco, for Jimmy G to only throw the ball 8 times, that blows my mind.
to win.
Well, and to win the way they did. Are they going to be able to run that ball against the Chiefs like they did last night? 200-something yards?
I think so. Their running back was a journeyman in the league.
7 different teams, right?
Big Ten kid out of Purdue.
Yeah.
Went to the University of Purdue. And
the Browns cut him.
The Browns,
can you believe that?
Yeah, the Browns actually.
That's the one position the Browns are okay at right now.
And for him to go out and have a career day was phenomenal. Just him staying the course. I know he's battled a few injuries, IR, the last 2 years, but to get that real chance to showcase his talents, hats off to him for having a great game yesterday. But I think when I look at the total package of a team, special teams, the offense, defense, the 49ers are clicking, man. They're really clicking. Mahomes magic, though.
I know. That's what I was just going to say. They're clicking,
Mahomes
but
magic. It's hard.
When you're leaning on – when you're only letting your quarterback – now, granted, they didn't need him to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
But 8 times in a championship game. To go keep up with Patrick Mahomes and his offense, you're going to need a 300-yard rusher that day to keep up with how many points they're going to put on the board, I think.
Yeah.
Now, granted – he had plenty of time. We talked about that. Nick Bosa, does he create pressure? Does that defensive line for the 49ers not let him
the 49ers
do what
have
he does?
5 first-rounders on their defensive
They do.
line.
Yeah.
And it showed yesterday.
They do. They have got guys.
So it'll be a different game, no doubt.
Who can rush the quarterback.
Guys that can rush the quarterback. The big difference for them would be their defensive back play, against the speedy the speedy Kansas City receivers. They have
You've got
a lot
old
of talent.
man Richard Sherman, right?
Matching
Matching up with some young
He's on his own revenge tour.
Exactly.
He's on a revenge tour this year.
Can he guard the cheetah one-on-one? I mean, that's going to be some big questions. And we have 2 weeks to hype this thing up.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a great game regardless.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be a lot of points on the board, I would think.
Right.
It's just.
I didn't get a prediction from either of you.
Yeah,
It's 2 weeks, man.
I got to listen to talk radio for 2 weeks and figure out who's going to win.
I got to watch a little of the tape. I mean, I'm sitting here. I grew up a 49ers fan. Ronnie Lott, Jay Rice. That was my era. Joe Montana was my favorite quarterback. I mean, hats off to Tom Brady, but I love Joe Montana. I watched the guy.
He's a baller, man.
He's a baller. But I'm leaning with the 49ers right now, but then as I watch how Tennessee ran through the playoffs and ran to a buzzsaw against Kansas City, and think about it, Kansas City was down 24-0.
Back-to-back games down.
And then we're down
big.
17-7.
Yeah, so they were down.
They can score so quick and so much.
Yeah, and then what was actually pretty impactful for the Kansas City game yesterday, in that third quarter, they actually slowed down and said, "Hey, we want to run the ball."
They did,
and they established the run.
Yeah.
So
well, when you got him thrown all over the place, it's a little bit easier to do.
Who would have thought the Chiefs would have outrushed Derrick Henry in the Titans by
for sure.
a wide margin?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. This is the only thing I have to say. I believe in the NFL, you kind of never know what you're going to get every week, right?
True.
I mean,
they're all professionals. You don't know what's going to happen.
It's not like college football. Yeah. It's kind of a flip of a coin sometimes, right? But I think it's the first time in a long time that you are getting by far the two best teams in the NFL, right? Going into last year's game, it's like LA Rams, Pats. I'm like, I think the Pats are, LA, I didn't think they're very good, right? Now going into this year, everyone's like, oh my God, Kansas City's really good and 49ers are really good, right? And it's going to be an all-out war, and I feel like it's the first time we've had this in a long time.
And it's a great storyline. I mean, Kansas City has
50 years.
50 years.
That's why I'm kind of rooting for them just because it's been so long.
Exactly. I mean, how was that, to be the Lamar Hunt Trophy be presented to the
Hunt family.
The Hunt family.
Pretty cool.
That's a great storyline there. And 50 years, you said, they call it the Chiefs Kingdom. They're going down to Miami. And Miami is going to be a great atmosphere. Our Super Bowl in 07 was in Miami, so I know that atmosphere.
It's a great place to be, man, for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Miami doesn't stink.
And then you got San Fran with the history of their Super Bowl. I think this will be their seventh.
Yeah, I think it's been 20, 25 years for them, right?
Yeah.
So. And I think they're the first team since like the 1980-something Bengals to go from a season where they lost four games or less to now going to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So they've completely turned it around.
Yeah. And that's all their quarterback. He was out last year, and now he's back, I guess, right?
He's quarterback league, man.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks to hype it up. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You hope Campbell's shoulder situation with the 49ers, but they got, depth there as we saw yesterday. And then Mahomes, man, he is the wild card. I mean, and they have a lot of talent on that receivers, man. I mean, Kelsey is a freaking
Well, you see it on the other side. Kittle on the other side. Tight ends.
Third and 6 or less, I'm telling you, Travis Kelce can get every first down. Every first down. I mean, he's unstoppable.
I mean, they double teaming on with a linebacker, corner. They got safeties. They jamming them off the line. The guy still catches first down.
It's unbelievable. And then you still got Cheetah on the outside. You saw Sammy Watkins go off because everyone's giving everyone else attention.
You can only guard so many people with two guys, right?
Watkins had his first touchdown since week 1 yesterday. It was a huge play. A little broken coverage, knocked the guy down, and he just took off and made a play. Yeah. So, NFL is, we got 2 weeks to hype it up. We got the Pro Bowl.
Well, still no predictions, but it'll be a good game. We're excited about it.
I'll make one
you should be too.
I'll make one prediction. A Buckeye's going to win a Super Bowl.
There we go. Yes. Perfect. Yeah.
So this has been Lettermen Live, presented by Roosters, out here at Olentangy River Road. We're here every Monday. Come on out, check us out, say what's up, get some of the greatest food there is in Columbus. So. My man Zwick, Doss, myself, it's been fun, and we'll catch you next week.
Go Bucks.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Lettermen Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buck IQ with Zach Boren.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Boren. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.